Do you ever feel like you're pouring everything into your music, yet something feels off? Like you're chasing a sound that isn't quite yours? It's easy to get lost in a sea of plugins, techniques, and endless tutorials, trying to sound like your favorite artists. But the real challenge is finding your own voice, that distinct sound that makes someone hear your track and instantly know it's you. The truth is, it doesn't happen overnight. Finding your signature style in ambient music is a process that takes time, experimentation, and a whole lot of patience. But the good news is there are clear steps that you can take to get there faster without feeling like you're wandering in the dark. In this video, I'm going to share 3 key tips that help me carve out my own sound over the years, things I wish I knew when I first started. We'll talk about how to master your tools without feeling overwhelmed, where to find inspiration beyond just music, and how to shape your sound in a way that feels authentic and personal to you. So if you're ready to move beyond imitation and start creating music that feels truly yours, let's dive in. So the first key that I have for you in helping you to find your own sound is embrace simplicity and space. So often we're focused on adding as much as we possibly can to our tracks that we lose focus on what the goal actually is, which is embracing simplicity and let the track come through. And that's one of the first keys that I have for you in helping you to find your own sound. So here's the track that I'm working on, and you can hear it's got a very subdued atmosphere coming from Cyclop here. This is a pad from my Patreon pack. It's called Dawnbreak, and I've used a lot of modulation in this. You can see I've got a jitter and a soft on this LFO. I've got a couple wave generators here in the oscillator path. But you can hear the overall sound of the pad itself. It's very chilled out. Look at it on a span. It's just enough, right? I'm putting this through Supermassive here. But the overall effect is quite nice. And instead of having, a really thick pad right there, it's just enough hint that there's atmosphere, letting the other elements shine through, and that's gonna help you find your own sound. So with the Cyclop pad, I've got a Vital bass here. Nice chilled out bass, very simple, sawtooth bass, running through a 24 dB low pass filter. Not much to this. But this hi-hat though is very interesting. This hi-hat is actually coming from Vital. And this is one wavetable frame. As you can see, I have one wavetable frame here that's being modulated with this random harmonic stretch formant, crazy looking comb filter that's moving again with this random. And this is all being driven by Stepic. So Stepic is just spitting out random notes in a chromatic fashion. And Vital is randomizing those notes and giving us different hi-hat sounds every single time. You can hear it right here, I'm gonna solo it. Sounds like actual samples, doesn't it? Again, one wavetable frame. So the overall arrangement is very simple, and that's what I'm talking about, embracing simplicity and space, allowing space for other elements to move through. So you can see here, I've got a pluck coming from Hive, very simple pluck, sawtooth, being modulated here. But again, look at the main fader and look at the span on the main, plenty of room there, right? Nice bass response right here. Mid-range is starting to dip down. You can clearly see those hi-hats here on the high end. That to me looks really good. So that's my first key for you, is embrace simplicity. Sometimes the pads don't have to be in the front. They can be laid back in the back. You don't have to have as much of crazy atmospheres in your track. Allow room for things like sequences, hi-hats, the tail of the bass. They'll all come in somewhere along the line, and that's what real frequency separation is. It's not putting a hard filter or an EQ on every single element. It's allowing, composing with that thought in mind. So I'm gonna put my bass over here, my mids over here, my highs over here, and just thinking about that during the composition phase, and that's one of the keys to finding your own sound. So the second key that I have for you is to develop your own sonic signature. Now, what do I actually mean by this? Well, one exercise that I like to do is to take like 1 or 2 synths. Maybe it's like Cyclop and Vital, or it's Vital and Pigments, and only use those synthesizers to create an entire track. Not only that, I want you to avoid using presets. So Maybe this might be difficult for you because you're not used to sound design. I've got tons of videos on my channel about how to design sound from scratch, like pads and plucks and basses and hi-hats. But really trying to focus on just a couple tools, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 synthesizers, and then trying to make a track with it, just starting from an initialized patch, that's a great way to develop your own sonic signature identity. So, you might try to, make like a pad out of Cyclop, and then make like a bass out of Vital, or a lead sound using Pigments or something, right? And, however it's gonna turn out is however it's gonna turn out. But really, the exercise is focusing on simplicity and keeping your tools to a minimum. That's a great way to develop a sonic signature identity. The second way is to analyze what resonates with you and then maybe reinterpret that in your own way. So take like a piece of music, like say you want to sound like Signs of Life. You take one of my songs, put it up in your DAW, and then try to reinterpret that song in your own way. Now, you might not get all the way there, or you might get all the way there. If you do, great. If you don't, it's gonna sound like your own sonic signature. The difference between your track and my track and what you did and what I did, that's your own sonic signature. So that's another great way. The third way that I have for you is to experiment with things like audio effect racks, right? So audio effect racks in Ableton Live, your DAW may differ, are a great way to put plugins in a chain and see what comes out after that. You can do all kinds of experimentation. So I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. So I'm gonna pause the track, and what I've got is an idea for this track that goes like this. It's kind of a trailing kind of sound, right? So what I wanna do is I'm gonna grab a synthesizer. Let's grab, say, Hive, right? So I'll come into my main synths here, and we'll grab Hive, and I'm gonna make like a dub stab. So I'll just make a simple dub stab, and that just means I'm gonna lower the sustain down, right? Okay, and I'll use the mod envelope to kind of make like a little plucky kind of sound. And then I'll use a LFO and put it on 4/1 here, and we'll put on the cutoff, right? Little movement here, and that's all we need to do. Up some resonance, there we go, okay? So this is just kind of a simple dub stab pluck, but it's very flat because there's no effects on it. So let's enter the audio effect rack, right? And what I'm gonna do, I'll get out of the way here so you guys can see this. I'm gonna grab an audio effect rack. I'm gonna close down my utility template production channel strip, and I'm gonna grab an audio effect rack. Now again, your DAW may differ, but in Ableton here, we have audio effect racks, which allows us to line up different plugins and make different chains in this audio effect environment. It's really quite great. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab, say, an auto filter. I'll grab a chorus ensemble. I'm gonna grab a hybrid reverb. I'll grab that. I'm gonna grab a utility plugin and put it on the end to give us some volume, because we're gonna need some volume on the end of this. And then what I'll do is I'm gonna grab a third-party plugin. I'm gonna grab a delay here. And the delay that I'm gonna use is Recirculate. Now, Recirculate is a fantastic delay made by Newfangled Audio. They make Punctuate and a bunch of other great plugins. Fantastic company, right? And I'll grab a preset here in the granular folder called Ghosts of Past Lives. Now, as you might or may not know, you can switch Recirculate from granular to standard, pitch warp, ping pong. I mean, this thing is incredible. You can also, it's also one of the only delays out there where you can offset the left and right channels just like you can in Timeless 3. Fantastic delay, right? I'm gonna lower the dry down here to like -50. So we're gonna barely hear the dry signal. But what this is gonna do is give us a really cool granulized delay sound through the rest of our rack. So let's go set this up. I'm gonna make it ensemble chorus, up the feedback a little bit. We'll increase the decay here of our hybrid reverb, maybe switch this from Dark Hall to Prism. And yeah, we should be good to go here. Check this out. This is what our dub stab now sounds like through our audio effect rack. Oh yeah, that's incredible. Now with the audio effect rack, what we can do is open up the chains list here and create a chain. What that's gonna do is give us a dry chain and a wet chain. So now we're effectively using both dry and wet signal here. Check this out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you can hear kind of that dry signal coming through. I quite like that. Perfect, right? So you saw what I did there is I grabbed an audio effect rack and I used it in a way where now I created a chain to kind of mimic that sound that I wanted to just out of a basic sound. It was just out of a basic sawtooth dub stab, right? But that's the kind of thing that you want to experiment with. Try audio effect tracks, try creating different chains. You could save this for later. Like I could totally save this as a rack, pull it up, use it on a different sound. The possibilities are endless here. So that's the second way, and I really want to enforce this, developing your own sonic signature identity, right? It takes time, it takes effort, but I know you can get there, right? The third key that I have for you in helping you to find your own sound is to seek inspiration beyond music. There are so many things that I do outside of the DAW environment that inspire me, that help eventually lead into the artist that I want to become. I read a lot, I write a lot, I do a lot of exercise, I meditate, I go on walks with my family. All of these things feed into my own personal artistry. So some exercise that you might do, you might keep an ongoing journal about what kind of album do you want to write, what kind of tracks do you want to write, what kind of music do you want to make. All of this stuff matters. And there's really no limit to this. I mean, you can go as far as you want to. And certainly when I first started, I didn't have any idea of what kind of artist I wanted to be. I didn't even know what my own sound was, but you have to find that. You know, I was talking to a client the other day and he's only 1 year into this. I'm 13 years into this and I'm still developing my own sound each and every time I approach in the DAW. So try to do things outside of producing music, and eventually that inspiration and all that energy and all that positive momentum is gonna lead into you becoming the artist that you want to become. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Hopefully you guys found this video useful. I know that I did. This is a really important topic. I might do more videos on this topic. Maybe we'll do like more full-on tutorials and stuff like that. But hopefully this is a nice little introduction in helping you find your own sound. If you want more videos like this, I am on Patreon. I do videos like this every single week. I have tons of tutorials over there. I've got tons of presets, including the Cyclop preset pack and so much more over there. So go check it out. I'll leave the link down below in the description. And I love hearing from you guys. So if you want to shout out, give me a comment. I love reading all your comments. It's a great interactive community that we have here, and I'm super excited about the future. So thanks again for watching. And as always, take good care and keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. My name is Chris from Signs of Life, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.